Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is Tuesday, January 22nd. This is the village board meeting. We'd all stand to say the Pledge of Allegiance. How about Trustee K. Janice?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Costa?
Present.
Trustee DeVivo? Present. Trustee K. Janice?
Present.
Trustee Nemec? Present. Trustee Sabo? Present. Trustee Yukich?
Present.
Mayor Daley?
Present. Are there any amendments to the agenda? Okay.
There was one.
Trustee Yukich?
We took off consideration to elect the president pro temp, and
Correct.
what I want to do is, we're fine with not voting on it, but I would still like to, I'd like to change a date on it, rather than having it. I'd like to just discuss it and see if we can make some adjustments to it.
Actually, I'd like to see it added back on the agenda, so we could then discuss it.
We can, let's see here. Can we discuss it in new business or old business, or do we have
Well,
to put it back in?
you know, it was initially listed as an action item, and according to our ordinances, we should have done this in December,
Yeah,
so
well, the whole ordinance is right here, okay?
Yeah,
And
I know.
if you don't do it in December, nothing changes. It reads, during the month of December of each year, the corporate authority shall elect one of its number president pro temp of the Board of Trustees for the following year. That member shall act as presiding officer in the absence or disability of the village president. Such trustee, so elected, president pro temp, shall serve so term until his or her successor is duly elected. There is one easy fix to this that I was going to ask the trustees to consider. If you look at the first page of the ordinance, it gets down to during the month of December of each year. It's as simple as changing it to the during the month of May of each year. The purpose of why I would recommend that change is that, for instance, right now, we have 3 trustees, well, one trustee is not running for re-election. We have five individuals running for 3 positions, of which we would be picking a mayor pro temp 4 months before an election, and this situation is going to happen every 2 years. So with one change of one word to go to May from December, we can fix that problem to where after the election, and the people that are truly the trustees at that point in time will either confirm or not confirm the appointment by the mayor.
I know, Mr. Mayor, that's why I suggested that in an email today to you.
Yep.
So my point about putting it back on the agenda is so that we could discuss it.
We can do that, or as I was asking the village attorney, is it as simple as putting it on new business, or
You can put it on new business, sure.
is there any problem with putting it on new business?
No.
Okay, we'll add it to new business then.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see here. Okay, is there a motion to approve the minutes of January 8th, 2013 meeting?
So moved.
First by trustee DeVivo,
Second.
second by trustee Costa.
Yukich.
Sorry, trustee
That's all
Yurkich. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Trustee DeVivo?
Aye.
Trustee K. Janice?
Aye.
Trustee Nemec?
Aye.
Trustee Sabo?
Aye.
Trustee Yukich?
Aye.
Motion carries. This would be F. Is there a motion to approve the accounts payable for the period of December 13th, 2012 to January 23rd, 2013?
So moved.
First by trustee Costa,
Second.
second by trustee Yukich. Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee DeVivo?
Aye.
Trustee K. Janice?
Yes.
Trustee Nemec?
Yes.
Trustee Sabo?
Yes.
Trustee Yukich?
Yes.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, the next portion of this meeting is reports and communications from the mayor and other officers. I'll start out. Today, we had a ribbon cutting ceremony at a new Homer Glen business, all about me. Today, village trustee K. Janice, village clerk Skaboten, village staff members, and Chamber of Commerce representatives join me in a ribbon cutting ceremony for a new business, a new Homer Glen business, All About Me. All About Me moved to Homer Glen from Orland Park, and we are happy to welcome them to our ever-growing business community. All About Me is located at 12101 West 159th Street. They are officially open for business in the Ace Hardware Shopping Plaza. We have additional ribbon cutting ceremonies scheduled in the weeks ahead, and Trustee Kate Janis, chairperson of our Community and Economic Development Committee, will discuss those in his upcoming report. Under achievements, congratulations to Christian, Jahasis for winning Homer Junior High School's National Geographic B for the second year in a row. Christian beat out approximately 350 students to win the competition. He is now qualified to compete at the state competition. Best of luck, Christian. And that concludes the mayor's report. As far as trustees' reports, how about we start down with Trustee Costa?
Thank you, Mayor. Just briefly on our fest, our plans for our fest in June. The committee met last week, and actually, I feel, I think I'd say for the committee, that we're pretty much right on line of where we want to be at this time of year. We actually have some bands that we're going to have contracts for this year. First on Thursday night, Pink Floyd, not Floyd, but F-R-O-Y-D, is going to be playing on Thursday. Friday, 80's Enough and Infinity. Saturday, Fortunate Sons, then American English, and K.O. Bossy. Sunday, there's two bands that we're negotiating right now, but we haven't come to terms, so I'd rather not say who they are until we make sure that we lock them in. But also this year, we'll probably, not probably, we're looking at having fireworks on Thursday night this year rather than Friday or Saturday. This will actually help increase the attendance on Thursday, and it does give us a little more of latitude if we have bad weather coming in for the weekend. One thing also that the committee is looking at that we talked about last year is a weather-related fest insurance. I've contacted a couple companies. One of them in particular is getting us a quote for weather-related losses or costs related to a fest. They're getting real close to having a premium or a cost for us. Hopefully by the next meeting, I'm thinking probably in 2 meetings, we should have something that we could present to the board. And that is my report.
Thank you, Trustee Costa. Trustee Yukich?
Thank you, Mayor. The only thing I'd like to add to Mike's is it's early enough now to just ask people if they want to volunteer. It is for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and that's the 20th, 21st, 22nd, 23rd. We need a lot of volunteers, so anyone who could step up to the plate would be great. That's my report, Mayor.
Thank you, Trustee Yukich. Trustee Sabo?
Okay. I just want to make sure that you can hear me on this microphone tonight. Is that positive? You cannot? No. Yes.
He just said louder.
It was replaced.
Louder. You want me to talk louder? All right, louder. Okay, the first report is for the Environment Committee on Earth Day, Arbor Day. And publicity has been recently sent to newspapers about the event, which is going to take place on May 18th. The Environment Committee is seeking new individuals for arts and crafts and organizations and businesses that meet the criteria. The committee is also looking for volunteers and sponsors to make this a great event again. And it was very successful last year. I wanted to say something about Homer Harvest Days. We are in touch with a reenactment group, a Civil War reenactment group called the Taylor's Battery B. And it's an exciting activity. They will be camping, showing the visitors about life long ago, which is very intriguing and popular. And they are going to be bringing something very unusual that will attract a lot of attention. And so more later. And then I want to report on the lighting ordinance, and the Environment Committee met on January 14th. Discussion took place regarding the review of the Homer Glen lighting ordinance by the village attorneys. The Environment Committee welcomes amendments to make compliance easier and more readable. The Environment Committee agrees that the Homer Glen ordinance, lighting ordinance can benefit from revision and simplification. Revisions or rewrites are the way to keep important regulations current with the times, and that can be easily done. The Environment Committee has reviewed and addressed the attorney's comparison chart and comments. The Environment Committee Lighting Subcommittee of 3 people will be meeting with 3 members of the Community and Economic Development Committee, CED, to review and respond to the attorney's comments and recommendations. The Environment Committee is again recommending that the compliance date be removed entirely or that the compliance date be removed far into the future. The Environment Committee is recommending that a booklet be created on lighting, which would summarize the purposes, show illustrations, identify the process in an easy-to-understand way for those not having a lighting background. The Environment Committee is also recommending utilizing the professional consultant services of a company well known in the field of outdoor lighting. The firm has experience in working with municipalities. It would review, evaluate, and improve Homer Glen's lighting ordinance for content, compliance, and procedure regarding development, remodeling, or retrofitting. This can be done after the Environment Committee and CED complete their work and present information to the board. And that is my report.
Thank you, Trustee Sabo. Trustee Kay Janis?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. Besides the opening and ribbon cutting of our newest business that opened today with the ceremony, also I'd like to announce coming soon a couple other business that will be in Homer Glen. One of them is Adore Photography, specializing in children's, and Ely Baker Photography, specializing in maternity, newborns, babies, newborns. Plan to open on February 6th. This will be on 12544 West 159th Street. Looking at ribbon cutting scheduled for Tuesday, February 5th at 2 p.m. Also, another business planning on art opening in Homer Glen is Sherwin-Williams. Target opening is February 22nd. The ribbon cutting is scheduled at this time for February 26th. They'll be located at 14347 Bell Road. Right near the Blueberry Hill Restaurant. Welcome them and wish them all the best of luck. I'd like to comment a little bit on CED, a couple things that we are discussing and have been discussing for several months now. One of them, as Trustee Sabo alluded to, was a few months ago. We, as a committee, we asked for an attorney review on our current lighting ordinance on the compliance issue of it. On February 14th, myself and Bill Thompson, a member of our committee, CED committee, did go to the environmental committee meeting where it was a very nice conversation. I had good two-way conversations, and we look forward to working with the environmental committee on these issues, on clarifying some of the subject matter in the upcoming months. Hopefully, we could have something presented in recommendation form to the full board in short order. Also, the CED committee, through a presentation we had on Wednesday night from Aaron, discussed secondary signage. This is something that we are continuously looking at. We hope in short order on this subject as well to have a presentation and to recommend possible change in the ordinance to the full board. That's it for my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Trustee Kay Janis. Trustee Nemec?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to just provide a point of clarity. This Sunday, there was an editorial in the Joliet Herald entitled Doubts Remain About Water, Municipalities Taking Over Water. And I just want to make a comment that I think that the editorial was actually comparing apples and oranges when it compared what's happening with the South Suburban Water Agency and the Northern Will County Water Agency. One of the points that was made was that it was prompted by the high cost of the City of Chicago water, which I think most of us who've been around for the last 12 years will know that we've had issues much longer than the City of Chicago raising its water rates. The intent of Homer Glen joining with the other 4 communities was more to make certain that we had stability in access. It's an existing system. We're not looking at changing the water source from Chicago like the South Suburban going to Indiana. So I just want to clarify that I think lumping what our efforts are in with the concerns over other communities is really a comparison of two very separate drivers in us taking over the water. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Nemick. Trustee DeVivo?
Thank you, Mayor. Don't have a report, but just a comment. We did not have a December meeting, and our next Park and Rec meeting is Monday, January 28th. We will be discussing the park plan, so if anyone is interested, please attend. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee DeVivo. Is there a treasurer's report?
I am giving the treasurer's report tonight, Mr. Mayor, if I could.
Sure.
So, our treasurer's report year-to-date, in the general fund, the village has $6,555,276.97. In the motor fuel tax fund, the village has $1,654,047.01. In the land acquisition fund, the village has $1,240,211.09. In the park fund, the village has $841,228.18, and in the multiple capital project funds that the village has, there is $22,483,662.85 for a total on account of $32,774,428.10. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Is there a clerk's report?
No report, Mr. Mayor.
How about the village attorney? No report. How about any task force chairpersons? All right. Are there any public safety officials that would like to say anything? All right. How about the village manager?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple items. As the mayor and the board know, the village is submitting a Heroes Trail extension to Goodings Grove School grant application. That application has actually gone to our local planner in Will County for review, and then it will be submitted into the grant program. We got a very, very nice letter, which I'm handing out to the board right now from Superintendent Morrow. We appreciate it very much. Obviously, this letter expresses the school district's significant support of the village board's effort to get this grant and do the extension to the school. So we certainly appreciate the intergovernmental cooperation, and the letter, which will be attached to the grant document, as a show of support. Are there any questions about that? Okay, a couple other items. Just as a reminder for the public, the village board will be meeting as committee of the whole next Tuesday for a presentation and a dialogue between the board and Housel Levine, which is a consultant that the village board has hired for our 159th Street corridor planning project. So that'll be next Tuesday. It will be at 7 o'clock versus 7:30, their normal meeting time. And two other items, Mayor, if I could, and board. We had an in-house training day on Monday. It was very successful. We had an instructor in from Moraine Valley, and we spent half of the day with a very, very good course on business writing, which was good for everybody. Got a lot of hints, and we did some team building also. And then in the afternoon, we got a chance to get into our offices and take care of some much-needed filing and various other organizational things. So we continue to appreciate the board's support on that in-house training day. It's been very, very useful. I invite you to talk to any staff members that you run into about that day. I think you'll hear a lot of positive comments. Finally, at your next regularly scheduled board meeting, it's going to be a little bit unique because you're going to be having three recommendations from three important projects from the Plan Commission that are going to be on that agenda that the Plan Commission unanimously approved at their meeting last night. In addition to that, you have a workshop session and various other agenda items. So I'm just kind of giving you advance wording on that. The items that were approved last night were the Kmart, for recommendation, were the Kmart rezoning, the Homer Glen Center rezoning, and the Farino application for the towing operation in the industrial park. Those three items will be on your agenda at the next meeting. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, that concludes, reports and communications from the mayor and other officers. The next portion of this meeting is public comment. I see we have somebody who'd like to speak. John Coy, if you'd step up to the microphone, give us your name and address for the record.
Hello, John Coy, 12056 Venetian Way, Orland Park, Illinois. Last week we had a projector showed us some slides and that about the discounted fees and tax incentives for new businesses and that. Pulling these articles out of the newspaper, it seems like most of your suburbs, and in here Orland Park discounted last year alone $490,000 just to builders in their area. And this year, according to this article, they doubled their building permits. So they're going to pull all of these freebies for water meter hookups and blah, blah, blah. And they're going to really start worrying about 159th Street, as is Tinley Park, in this article that was in this week's paper. What's happening is they've been given all these big tax breaks, and according to this, trustees have concern about setting a procedure by offering tax breaks to businesses on 159th Street. Because if you do for one, you're going to have to do for the rest of them. So we have to be awful careful when we start giving tax breaks to businesses and whether you think they're going to sustain a quality, good payment that, we can live with. And not somebody's going to be in and out of there like you go down here, to go around the road to the strip malls down here, and half of them are vacant. I mean, something's wrong. And I personally don't like giving tax breaks to big business, because if you give it to one, you're going to have to give it to more. Or they're going to be bugging you, or they're going to tell you, just like what you just said, you went to a new business, moved here from Orland. Well, they probably aren't going to get a tax break, so they're going to come out here. I don't know if we gave them a tax break or not, but I don't like the idea when everybody else is pulling their tax breaks. And all of a sudden, last week, we're going to start giving them as a bigger incentive. We don't need an incentive. We got a quality area up there. And I don't know. To me, I say, you guys are doing a dynamite job. We don't need to give somebody tax breaks to come to our village. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next portion of this meeting would be legislation and action items. This would be I-1. Is there a motion to approve staff and Community and Economic Development Committee's recommendation regarding Mayor and Village Board SOP number 7, Village of Homer Glen Sales Tax Incentive Policy?
So moved.
First by Trustee K. Janis,
Second.
second by Trustee DeVivo. Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call.
Mr. Mayor?
Trustee
Well,
Yukich?
that's right. Mary, trustee Nemec went first.
Just a point of clarification. What we're approving tonight are procedures and criteria for how we would consider an economic incentive. It's not authorizing us to give to any one individual business. This establishes protocol.
Correct.
So.
Trustee Yukich?
The only question I had on it is reading through this, it said, types of incentive where it's going to be sales tax rebate as a portion, and it's saying 1% of the sales local sales tax. So that's what we're basically giving them, is if it would be, is it going to be a full 1% refund to them or a partial? And that would be state's money, not the home rule money.
Right. Let me address that a little bit. First of all, the home rule sales tax is committed to paying for the bond that we talked about, different projects. Okay. And then the 1% that you get from the state, I would say almost 99% of the circumstances, nobody would ever get a 1% sales tax incentive. But whatever incentive that you decided on that would be fair would come out of the state side of the 1%. Unlike, maybe Mr. Coy spoke on it, and he's not aware, very few businesses that are not significantly important. All businesses are important, but I mean dollar-wise, that you're trying to compete with other communities, meaning Menards has a sales tax incentive with us. Home Depot had one with us. Myers, when they come and build their store, they have one already built into their annexation agreement. Minus that, I don't know unless I'm wrong, and the manager may be able to answer this. I don't think there's a sales tax incentive in any strip mall that we have. No. So the answer is no.
Well, except if you want to consider Dominic's, but it was really done for Dominic's. It goes to the developer of the whole development.
Okay. And then the other thing that I just want to make clear for the public when, we're talking about sales tax incentives and what have you, and public comment that just finished here, we do not have 3/4 of our strip malls empty. That's just not correct. I do like to comment that we're doing a good job. We are bringing in businesses. We had the biggest year in sales tax you had it in your manager's report. I don't have it in front of me. Our building permits were up, the largest since, what year was it?
I think it's the largest in 3 years.
Largest in 3 years. So everything is moving in the right direction. This is just it's a SOP to show people the procedure you would have to go through if you wanted to apply for a sales tax incentive. It doesn't promise anything to anybody. It's based upon what they bring to the table. So, is there any other comments?
There's just one
Trustee
other
Yukich?
comment. Along with the 1% sales tax, and I understand it's just an SOP right now, but there's also no mention of any time limit or dollar amount of where we would start and where we would stop.
The
Correct.
time limit is on page 6.
Yes.
It's in the middle of page 6. And there you go.
Okay,
Okay?
10
I think
years.
it's 10. I think it's 10 years.
Okay.
And there is, there's a caveat in which I know the board wanted. There's a caveat in the SOP that basically says, ultimately the decision is up to the village board. If you, for some reason, choose to move out of the criteria that are established here, you can do that if you think the project warrants it. So it gives you some leeway that way too. I would mention just for the public's benefit, Mr. Coy had mentioned that Orland Park has decided to stop an incentive program that they had in place. I believe the incentive program that was in the newspaper last week is the incentive program they had for residential development, and it was a reduction in building permit fees and tap-on fees, which of course the village of Homer Glen never did. So a lot of communities that did that to try to improve the amount of housing development in their community are starting to claw those back now. We don't have to do that because you never did that. So.
Okay. Trustee Nemeth?
And 2 points. And to add to that, most communities will look at ways in which there can be property tax incentives. However, Homer Glen doesn't assess a municipal property tax. So the only incentive that we can provide is the local sales tax. And it's not the state's sales tax. It's the 1% that is authorized by the state, but it's Homer Glen's 1% sales tax. So we now get 2%. 1% is the home rule that and the other is the 1% local, which we get as an incorporated municipality. So it's that 1% that this would be of consideration.
Right,
Cor-
and
but
I
it-
forgot to answer,
Go ahead.
if I could, I forgot to answer Trustee Yukic's other question. You had mentioned the dollar amount. There's also on page 6 there, there's a paragraph that talks about the economic incentive of the new sales tax dollars should not exceed what the village of Homer Glen receives. So in other words, this current SOP limits it to 50%. That would be the high 50%.
And if I may, Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Trustee Kajins.
to one of public's comments, there is a business, in this SOP, there is also a business commitment, and the commitment is for the occupancy equal or beyond the term of the incentive. So we do want our business developers and developments to stay here for the long term as part of this process. And this is just a process, and it's just a criteria that we're examining for consideration tonight. But anything that this board may or may not do in the future has to be with the full benefit at the community at large, and that's also very clearly stated in this operating procedure number 7 as well. I think it was a very thorough, thought-out plan for consideration.
Okay, are there any other comments? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Janice?
Yes.
Trustee Nemec?
Aye.
Trustee Sabo?
Aye.
Trustee Yukich?
Aye.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Trustee DeVivo?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, we would be on to I, number 2. Is there a motion to approve the proposed date of Saturday, March 23rd, and time of 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. for the Village's Spring 2013 paper shredding and recycling electronic drop-off event?
I so move.
First by trustee Sabo,
Second.
second by, I believe that was trustee Yukich. Is there any discussion?
I
Madam-
just
ahead.
have one question on this one.
Sure.
On this one here, too, for the paper, it kind of gives a breakdown of what they're going to be doing and how they're going to do it, and what the charges are going to be. But what happens if someone comes with a truck full of paper? Are we taking it? Because it
What
doesn't
we-
say any kind of
Sure.
limit on this either.
What we do in the promotional pieces, which we did this past year, is we limit it to 10, I believe it's 10 boxes.
I think it was 10, yeah.
And quite frankly, there were a couple people that came in with a few more than 10 boxes, but it wasn't overt. If someone came in with a whole truck and clearly, maybe that was a business accountant with, 30, 40, 50 trucks, we would have to have a conversation right there about it and see what, maybe we would take 10 of those boxes. But all the advertising material, the newsletter, the website stuff, the articles that are in the newspaper, they'll all mention that 10-box limit, or whatever it is. Don't hold me to it. It might be 10, 12,
Okay.
but there's a limit. We'd use the same one as we used last time.
Okay.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Nemec?
Aye.
Trustee Sabo?
Aye.
Trustee Yukich?
Aye.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Trustee DeVivo?
Aye.
Trustee Janice?
Aye.
Motion carries. I3, is there a motion to approve the attached agreement with Cintas Document Management for shredding portion of the Spring 2013 paper shredding and recycling electronic drop-off event, and to direct the mayor to sign said agreement?
I so move.
First by trustee Sabo,
Second.
second by trustee DeVivo. Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Sabo?
Aye.
Trustee Yukich?
Aye.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Trustee DeVivo?
Aye.
Trustee Janice?
Aye.
Trustee Nemec?
Aye.
Motion carries. I4, is there a motion to approve an agreement with the School District 33C for the use of Homer Junior High and Hadley Middle School parking lots for the village's March 23rd, 2013 paper shredding and electronic, recycling electronic drop-off event, and to direct the village manager to sign said agreement?
So
I s-
moved.
First by trustee Costa,
Second.
second by trustee Sabo. Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Yukich?
Aye.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Trustee DeVivo?
Aye.
Trustee Janice?
Aye.
Trustee Nemec?
Aye.
Trustee Sabo?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. This would be I5. Is there a motion to approve resolution number 13-001, a resolution in support of Homer Glen's application for the municipal technical assistant grant for Emerald Ash Borer? It is understood that the final grant document will be reviewed by the village manager before submittal.
I so move.
First by trustee Sabo,
Second.
second by trustee DeVivo. Is there any discussion?
Yes, I do have something to say.
Sure. Go ahead.
Every year, they give us a very brief period of time compared to other grants. And this came into our office on, I believe, January 9th, and their workshop on EAB, on the Emerald Ash Borer, was last Thursday. And we have received this draft. It has a lot of information in it. It's still being worked on. And Sue Stylen did attend that workshop and has inputted information regarding the application. And we also look forward to to having a quote on what it takes to do stem by stem, what it takes to do evaluation of the emerald ash trees. So, but anyway, the money amount is there, and there is a 50-50 match this year. So we would like to know the health of our trees in this community, what happens in our public parkways and in our parks affects our residents. EAB is here. It's devastating, and we have a number of ash trees on the street. So we're going to have a management plan in the future to say what we're going to do when these trees are gone. And so we are forced to do what we have to do about combating the problem. So we're looking for money. Hope this is the third year. Hope the third year is the charm on this, and that we do receive this grant. It's up to $20,000. And they always look for more. They always say, put in more. That's very encouraging. They look for volunteers in this also. So there are certain incentives, and of course they look for need. I think we're very needy in this community for this grant, because there are a lot of other communities that are so much further ahead on taking care of EAB. They're cutting down a lot of trees, or they're using a scientific method to see if they can prolong the life of the trees as they replant trees, so that everything doesn't look absolutely bare when all these ash trees are gone. It was a wonderful tree. It's very durable as a street tree, and it was used very, very much.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Sabo. Any other comments? Trustee Costa?
Just point of clarification, we adjusted the dollar amount in column D.
Yes, the whole document is still under development. There were a couple little errors in this one that we've found, and we've added some paragraphs. And I think I'm glad that Trustee Sabo mentioned Sue Stylen. I think she's done a great job with this, as she did with the others. She attended a session. I think she's added a little bit more since then, based on that grant session. So when it is completely done, probably early next week, I will give it a once-over again through the whole document, and then we'll, of course, communicate the final document to the board.
I just have one comment. It's because of this board meeting and because of the lack of time in having this grant. I mean, it would be nice if we had more time than this, but the board meeting is tonight. The grant is due at the beginning of February. So you see that why the draft is in process at this time.
Lately, these these grant programs that the state's involved in, they come up, just like with the PATH money, right? We found out like less than a month ago about that. There's this extra money, which aren't two words that really go together anymore on the state level, but for these grant programs, but then they expect you to turn them around very, very quickly. So that's the time pressure we're under.
And the questions are different every year. It's
They
nice
are.
if we
They
could
are
just
different.
improve the last year's
Right. A
application.
little tricky that way.
Okay, any other comments? Trustee, or Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Trustee DeVivo?
Aye.
Trustee Kajanis?
Aye.
Trustee Nemec?
Aye.
Trustee Sabo?
Aye.
Trustee Yukich?
Aye.
Motion carries. This would be I-6. Is there a motion to approve addendum number 2 from Robinson Engineering?
Well, we eliminated
Yeah,
five.
we skipped 5, right. So, if you want to call it I-6, I-7, it's this motion. Is there a motion to approve addendum number 2 from Robinson Engineering for supplemental engineering services for the 143rd Street and Lamont Road intersection project? It is understood that the total amount of the addendum number 2 shall not exceed $45,225, and that the increase to the Village of Homer Glen's local match shall not exceed $22,612.50. It is further understood that the cost of this item will be included in the village's FY 2013-14 budget under line item 20.00.85.670.
I so move.
First by Trustee Sabo,
Second.
second by Trustee Costa. Any discussion? Madam Clerk?
Aye.
Trustee Sabo?
All right, just a brief. I know there's going to be lighting in here. It does mention lighting. I would hope that a government agency would be putting up lighting that is considered green, considered energy saving, and would be full cutoff, would be fully shielded. So with the resolution, House Resolution 0884, it the state has adopted and wants other municipalities to do the same, has adopted this resolution for energy saving, to reduce glare, and to provide the latest in lighting. So I hope it is a full cutoff. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Sabo. Any further discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee DeVivo?
Aye.
Trustee Tejanis?
Aye.
Trustee Nemic?
Aye.
Trustee Sabo?
Aye.
Trustee Yukich?
Aye.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. The motion carries. That concludes legislation and action items. Next portion of this meeting is workshop. We have a presentation from Megan Visk of Energy Impact Illinois regarding residential energy efficiency projects. Megan, take the mic, and why don't you introduce yourself to the village board?
Okay, thank you so much. Some of you know me already. My name is Megan Visk. I live in Homer Glen, and I have for most of my life. For the past 5 months or so, I've been working with Energy Impact Illinois, which is an alliance that's dedicated to reducing energy consumption in the Chicagoland area. And I'm a field organizer, so I've been working with the local communities, mostly in the southwest suburban area, talking with people about energy efficiency. We're doing some education, as well as helping homeowners to make upgrades on their homes that will reduce their energy consumption, while also making their homes more comfortable and also saving them money. So I recently met with the Environmental Committee, and they invited me here to speak with the board. I just wanted to tell you a little bit about what our program is and what we have been doing in Homer Glen, and hopefully you can help me to just have the residents of Homer Glen informed about what we have available for them. So just a little bit of background on the Energy Impact Illinois program. We have funding from a grant from the U.S. Department of Energy's Better Buildings program, and this was part of the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act. The Chicagoland area is one of about 40 communities in the United States that received one of these grants. We received $25 million, and that was specifically for energy efficiency programs. The Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning is leading this program. They received this grant. They're also working with government agencies. The City of Chicago and the City of Rockford are also working with us, as well as the local utility companies. So in the city, North Shore Gas and Peoples Gas, and in this area, it'd be ComEd and NICOR. ComEd and NICOR have also contributed some funding for the program as well, and that funding actually comes from their customers paying in small fees on each of their electric bills. Also, nonprofit organizations are really involved with this program. CNT Energy is one of the main ones. That's a branch of the Center for Neighborhood Technology. It's an urban sustainability organization. Been around for over 30 years, based out of Chicago. Also, Conservation Services Group, which is an energy efficiency nonprofit organization, and the Delta Institute. So why this alliance? Government agencies are interested in boosting the economies. So the grant we received is a stimulus grant. And so we're putting people to work, contractors, as well as everyone working with the program, and also looking to free up some money in our local economies by saving people money on their energy bills. It also makes homes more affordable. So if people are spending less money on their monthly bills, obviously that's freeing up money elsewhere. And of course, reducing energy consumption. That's one of the main goals. We want to reduce energy consumption by 15%. Utility companies are helping us out because they're maxing out their infrastructure. So during the really cold winter months, like right now, there's a huge spike in energy demand. So they have a hard time keeping up with these demands. So we want to curb those spikes by making homes more efficient so that they don't have to build more transmission lines and whatnot. Also, they're mandated by the Illinois Commerce Commission, so they have to help us. Nonprofits, of course, decades of working on environmental issues, and they're working as advocates for the homeowners that go through our program. So I'm going to talk about the residential program that's involved with Energy Impact Illinois. That's the main focus that I work on. So as far as who qualifies, there's no income restrictions for our program. Some other programs are only working with low-income families. We can work with anyone. Mostly single-family homes, 2 to 4 unit buildings. We can also work with townhomes. They have to be NICOR ComEd customers, so Homer Glen, everyone would qualify. The only exceptions are municipalities like Naperville because they have a municipal electric source. They don't go through ComEd. So it doesn't matter that Homer Glen has done electrical aggregation either because you're still receiving your electricity from ComEd. So it's basically the 7 counties of the Chicagoland area with those few exceptions. Okay, so what do we offer? We have low-cost energy assessments. So typically, if you went out to try to get an energy assessment of your home, it would be around $500, which is a lot just to find out what's wrong. So we're working with Conservation Services Group, which is the nonprofit organization that offers these assessments for only $99. So that's a lot less than $500. It's a comprehensive evaluation. Someone goes in to your home for 2 to 3 hours and will produce a report for you. They do, of course, energy assessments, but it does include some safety and health tests as well. We have a 70% rebate for air sealing and insulation projects. So that's really our main focus. Air sealing and insulation is going to be the main way we can reduce energy consumption in residential homes because most of the energy use is going towards heating and cooling homes. And so we want to make sure houses are properly insulated and not super leaky so that that energy is being put to good use and not being wasted. So for air sealing and insulation projects, we cover 70% of those project costs up to $1,750. So to give you a better idea, typically those projects cost between $2,000 and $4,000. So we'll cover 70% up to $1,750, and it's an instant rebate, so homeowners don't have to apply for rebate money. Our contractors deal with it. We have trained and certified contractors. Speaking of our contractors, there's a number of private contractors, 9 actually, that work in this area. They're from nearby areas. I know we have a contractor from Frankfurt, one from Tinley. They all have an extra level of certification from the Building Performance Institute, which just ensures that they are experts on energy efficiency improvements. They are properly vetted by both NICOR and the Energy Impact Illinois staff, and we continue to do quality control on their work so that we make sure they are doing quality work on our homeowners' homes. And we guarantee their work, so if for some reason it's not up to standards, it's not done what was expected, they are required to fix any work for free. But we don't anticipate that happening. We also have loans available, low interest loans. So if someone has a really large project they want to go forward with involving energy efficiency improvements, or if they just need their air sealing and insulation costs are still high after the rebate, we have low interest loans. We're working with a few different banks, and we actually pay the first 12 months of interest on those loans. Energy Impact Illinois does. Again, that's just another way to reduce upfront costs for homeowners. Our main goal is to save people money as soon as possible, so we don't want them to have a whole lot of upfront costs to have to deal with. We have a call center and a website that people can call into to speak with energy experts, to get linked up with a contractor, and to also find out about any other financial resources that are available. So while we do have this major rebate, there are rebates available for other things other than air sealing and insulation, for appliance replacement. I believe there's things available for window replacement. Anything like that people can find by calling into us or by going on our website, anything that's related to energy efficiency. Homes that reduce their energy consumption by 15%, which again is our goal, will receive a certificate for their home from the Illinois Home Performance Institute, and that's with Energy Star. So you have an Energy Star home, just like you would have an Energy Star refrigerator, and that can increase home value. So that's just another bonus. All of those improvements that are made are going to be documented, and they will be linked to the MLS listing of your home. So it'll stay with your home that these improvements were made, and that you have reduced your energy consumption significantly. So really quick, why do we focus all of our rebate money on air sealing and insulation? It's really the most cost-effective way to make our homes more comfortable and to reduce our energy bills. A lot of people think they have to replace their windows, and then that's going to cost tens of thousands of dollars, and it's not going to result in as much energy savings as quickly. These projects, again, are, you know, only a couple $1,000s, and will actually reduce energy consumption by at least 10-15% more than doing windows. About 35% of energy loss is happening because of improper ventilation and lack of insulation. And so, again, this is just going to be the most effective way to reduce energy consumption in our homes. Also, it can affect air quality. So people who have leaky homes or drafty homes and are getting their air from their dirty spaces in the basement, they will test for air quality problems when they do these assessments as well. So it's just another health and safety improvement that can come along with these improvements as well. These audits that we offer, the $99 audits, include infrared camera scans. So a thermal imaging camera, our contractors will go in to find where energy loss is happening, where cold air is coming in. Right now is a really great time to do it because it's significantly warmer in your house than it is outside, so you can really see where these things are happening. Again, they do combustion safety tests, also direct installs of things like CFLs, low flow shower heads, faucet aerators, water heater pipe insulation, and an optional programmable thermostat. And that's included in that $99 cost that you pay for. So even if people don't move forward, those are some small improvements that will reduce energy consumption. And then after that audit is completed, that same day you will receive a report listing all of the recommendations for improvements to make to increase your energy efficiency, as well as the cost estimate and the difference that the rebate will make. So the rebate will be included in the cost estimate. And then people can obviously choose whether or not they want to move forward from that point. So we have a few options for people who are interested in signing up with us. What we do is impact house parties. It's kind of like Tupperware parties. I made my parents have one, and it was actually really fun. We ask people to invite over about 5 other homeowners, and we go into your home. So a representative such as myself and a contractor come in, and we bring in the thermal imaging camera, and we actually will go around your home and find out where you're losing energy, point it out to your friends and neighbors that come over, and then talk about what kind of improvements you can make. So it's a great way to educate other people about our program. It's one of our main ways of forms of outreach. And then people who host these parties get free assessments. So that $99 assessment cost is covered by Energy Impact Illinois. So the great thing about this is people who are interested in getting that assessment but don't want to pay the $99 can get it for free. They can get up to the point of having their report on their home before they have to pay anything. So unless they choose to go forward, it's no cost to them. People who don't want to host these parties can pay $99 for the assessment. Just call in and sign up for that. We also need some help with outreach. So this program right now, our grant is expiring in May. So we only have a few more months. We want to get this money into communities before we lose it. So we need some help getting people just informed that this exists and that we have these financial incentives for people. So if there's community organizations and events where we can reach out to people, I've already spoken with the Homer Chamber of Commerce and also the Lions Club. And so I've worked with them, but any other community organizations, I'd be happy to talk to and hopefully get in touch with their members or work with them on events. Also, the Homer Glen newsletter or website, or you do email blasts, anything like that would be helpful to get something about our program mentioned so that the people who read those things can find out about what we have going on. And really quickly, Trustee Sabo asked that I touched briefly on the other types of property that we have opportunities for, because while I am a representative for the residential program, there is funding that's going towards programs for other types of property. So businesses, there's a few opportunities for commercial buildings. The Managed Energy Services Agreement, this is something that involves a company called Sci Energy. Again, I'm not an expert on this because this isn't the portion of the program that I deal with, so you can always check the website for more detailed information. But basically, a business would pay this company their utility bills instead of paying it to the utility companies. And in turn, this company pays for improvements done on the building, and for the length of the contract, you pay the same utility bills you've been historically paying. And then when the contract's over, you're going to have significantly lower bills without having to pay for any of the improvements that were done. Again, more specific details can be found on the website. There's also a number of resources and financial incentives for small businesses. A lot of them are very similar to the residential incentives. There's also some opportunities just to speak with energy experts on how to make your home or make your building more efficient. Again, that website and the call center can answer all of these questions. Multifamily buildings and houses of worship have very similar programs, including energy assessments, financing options, construction oversight, and energy performance reports. I have a little bit of literature on these programs if someone was interested in learning a little more. Again, website and the phone number are the best place to look for those. Government and nonprofit, there is a whole slew of financial incentives for all different types of things. I know you have talked a lot about lighting. I believe there are some incentives for doing energy efficient lighting and things like that. Those can all be found again on the website and by calling the number. Also things like loans, consulting, energy analysis, and those incentives all be found on there. Does anyone have any questions?
Anybody have any questions for Megan?
Very good.
Okay, thank
Great.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Megan.
I would just,
So Mayor, one of the questions that I have for the board, and it's not really required by vote, just a consensus would be good. Typically, in a situation like this, I would look for direction from the board for you to tell me that it would be okay to put information like this up on the website and to utilize some space in our upcoming village newsletter to direct people to that information or to their website. So I was just looking for some consensus from the board to help publicize this information in the tools that we have available to us.
I think it's a good idea to move forward and try to publicize it as much as possible. It helps people save money. Some of our homes in the community are, 25-plus years old that need information like this, so it's a tool that they can tap into. It's their choice. We're not promoting one individual business per se. We're just giving them information on the technology that's out there that they can tap into. Does anybody have a problem with that, or?
Very
I have
good,
a
thank you.
comment. So many times residents don't know where they can get funding. They think they can't. And they think they have to go through, if so, a formal process that's bigger than what they want to go through. I had also asked Megan to provide information on the business community, because I think they also need help. So that will be a information that they can delve into, and I'm very happy that you did visit the chamber. So the chamber people live in Homer Glen also, and of course they have businesses here. So I'm would be very delighted to know that the board would agree to putting it on the website and to find some room in our next newsletter, since the deadline is looming in May.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the next portion of this meeting is another workshop. This does not take a motion, but it's considered for approval, a recommended increase to the village collector's salary. The background information is the Administration and Finance Committee has discussed the potential increase to the village collector's salary, currently $16,500 a year, at meetings in September, October, and December. At their December meeting, the Administration and Finance Committee passed the following motion. I move to increase the village collector's salary $5,000 in 2013 and an additional $5,000 in 2014. The village collector's salary would then increase from its current $16,500 to $21,500 in 2013 and then to $26,500 in 2014. The committee asked the village manager to place the recommendation on the village board's agenda in a workshop format. Hence, the recommendation is now before the village board for discussion. Staff has attached the salary survey spreadsheets as originally distributed, asked, and delivered to the Administration and Finance Committee during their deliberations on this matter. Since in Homer Glen, the village collector also serves separately as the village clerk, the salary survey includes both information on both positions. The village clerk in Homer Glen currently earns $5,000 a year. There will be no increases for the village collector where included in the FY 2012-13 budget. If the board chooses to support the recommendation, staff would suggest that the adjustment begin after May 1st, 2013, so that the increase could be appropriately budgeted. As far as a vote goes, a salary increase requires a simple majority. Now, that's what we've discussed in Administration Finance, and I just have to say that Gail has done a terrific job, just an excellent job. And due to the size of our staff, with only 10 full-time employees, we have people working many jobs that are outside of what they're actually hired to do or elected to do. So the public knows Gail has never had an increase since she's been here in the village, since the village incorporated. I think it's about time we compensate her. We do it with other employees. The collector's position is not an elected position, and the increase could be made with a simple majority vote. I'll have the village attorney explain, how it would have to be done if you went the opposite way and it went through the clerk's position. Go ahead, Kerry.
With respect to any increase for the clerk would have to be approved, I believe it's 90 or 120 days prior to the election, and cannot be approved during the term of an elected official's office, so it could not take effect for another 2 years. By doing it this way, the collector's office is not an elected office, and there is no restriction in terms of when and if a salary increase could be imposed, other than it must be done through the budget or appropriation process and put into effect in a fiscal year.
Okay. And before I open it up for discussion, the clerk has, like I say, picked up the slack in a lot of different directions for the village of Homer Glen. In this increase, 5,000 in 13, 5,000 in 14. I don't believe I could hire somebody that does the job that she does, the additional responsibilities for $5,000 this year and $5,000 next year. So I highly recommend the board agrees with me and that we move forward. We would have to, am I correct, put it on the next agenda for
Yes.
a village board vote?
You would do that, and then it would become effective in the next budget year, beginning in May of this year, May of 2013.
Right. Now, the other choice, too, is that it'll be paid out of the 2013 budget. If you wanted to make it retroactive to January 1st of 2013, that's also an option that I think should be discussed, and I think it would be a good thing. I think Gail works hard and deserves it, and we've compensated all the employees in the village of Homer Glen, because we've kept the staff very small. We have less employees than the former administration by a few, and we had to do that. I mean, the time was the way it is. It was just tough times. But we are seeing increases in permits. We're seeing increases in this activity, businesses coming in town, and I thoroughly hope that the village board votes in favor of the increase for Gail. I open it up for discussion. Trustee Nemeth?
Mr. Mayor, I know when this first came before Admin and Finance several months back, there was a discussion about proposing an increase for the clerk's position, and I gave the committee a bit of a history lesson as to why we separated the collector from the clerk, and it had everything to do with the fact that we were a very small staff and that we were asking for additional roles than might normally be from an elected official in the role of a clerk, and that this was allowed by state statute for us to do that. Taking the individual out of this consideration, because I think, again, Gail, I agree with you, has done over and above. I just want to point out that not having been there in December, I don't know that I would have put 5,000 and 5,000. That's going to make this position compensated the third highest in all of the communities, and with only New Lenox and Homer Township being higher. Now, I don't have a problem with the existing structure because I know what this individual does for the village, but as this moves forward, I think future boards need to evaluate the role of the clerk and what is being asked of the clerk, so that if we do hire staff to begin assuming responsibilities that the collector would have, that this not be seen as a compensation for the clerk. This is really almost two separate considerations. So future boards may need to consider that the clerk that's elected may not be willing or want to do the duties of a collector, and at that point, the salary for the collector may end up reverting to a staff position. And I think that's something that has to be discussed here, and we're aware of that.
Okay. Does anybody else have any comments?
Well, just
Mike?
so, again, Trustee Nemec, just so if I understand that, so this increase is strictly on collector.
Correct.
So
Correct.
the clerk's position, the salary of $5,000 a year to be here pretty much, 40 hours, 32 hours a week. I understand what the mayor was saying too. So, and like you said, if this is ever split off, that a portion or any part of this tax collector's salary is not included in the clerk's salary, of course, by statute, it wouldn't be. But I just want to clarify, that's what you're saying is, right? So,
Right.
in the future, okay.
And there is no, the clerk is an elected position, so there's no requirement for the clerk to be in the office at any given time. Just like there's no requirement for trustees or mayors, they are part-time elected positions, and you serve based on your willingness. But because we had a small staff, at the time when this happened, we had a staff of 3. We have a few more than that now.
Right.
And so the clerk did the role of, in much,
Yeah, and you also have the opportunity to, so many days prior to an election, to decide to adjust the clerk's salary, possibly at that point eliminating the collector's salary. It's up to the board, but legally you can only do it at certain times. As the village attorney said, he believes it's 90 to 100 days before. I'm trying to compensate this individual fairly based upon what she does around here, based upon my observations, and I think everybody sees what goes on here. And is there any further comment?
I agree with you, Mayor. I think she's got it coming to her.
Okay, then we'll prepare a motion for the next meeting to that effect, and then we'll take a vote on it. All right, thank you. That concludes the second workshop item. Okay, then what do we get here? Under old business, were we bringing Trustee Nemec's thing up under old or new?
New business.
Okay.
but I do have one old business I'd
Go right
like to
ahead.
bring up.
Go right ahead.
I'd like to raise the issue again of the electric attendance ordinance. I understand that staff are doing research and seeing what comparable ordinances and what other municipalities are doing. When the staff report is done, I think it would be good to have that ordinance come back as a workshop item and not as a piece of legislation, because in the last meeting, the initial conversation surrounding the excluding corporate authorities tended to be started that it was because of the technology in this room. but the discussion eventually got to an issue of policy. So I think we as a board need to discuss the policy first, then we can talk about whether the technology and the capabilities are here. I think those are two separate issues that we need to address. And so a workshop is what I'm asking for when it comes back.
Okay, and the village manager's working on it, and I've actually talked with a few people, and it's, there aren't too many places that do it. That's one of the problems with trying to accumulate information. But the
Mayor,
village
if it would be
manager's working on it.
okay, and trustee Neer, if it would be okay, I do have a workshop, the workshop session for the first meeting in February is, we've finally gotten some response back from IDOT. So we want to bring that information back to you about 159th Street. That's a big workshop item in addition to the plan commission meeting. So what I'd like to do is bring this on February 26th, because I don't have anything on that agenda for workshop.
I have no
So
problem
if that's
with
okay, is that the second meeting in
fine.
February? Okay, very good, thank you.
Okay, and then, is there any other old business?
Yeah, I do. I have some.
Trustee Sabo?
Yeah, okay. I'd like to bring up the subject of lighting, and I had just touched on it under my trustee report. And I just want to have this item placed on the agenda for discussion and a motion. And that has to do with the Environment Committee recommending a firm that can deal with the ordinance. I mean, let's after the Environment Committee and CED is finished going over the ordinance and the attorney's comparison chart and the attorney's recommendations or comments to be brought to the board, and then for final review of the ordinance as far as being able to be easy to comply to, be friendly, be easy to understand. That's what this company does do. They have done it for other municipalities. And I'm familiar with this company. This company has done something absolutely free as a service to Homer Glen when they reviewed the photometric plan for the Homer Glen Center there on 143rd Street. And I believe that could have been in 2008. It has come to be known that Roger Eastman, who is the zoning code officer for the city of Flagstaff, is not able to really draft an ordinance because of his time and his job there, but he's willing to answer questions. And just to clarify something that was mentioned before about one of the owners, one of the partners in this firm called Dark Sky Partners, and I'm going to pass this out. This is the firm that has helped us before, that we did use as a just a consultant, but did not write the ordinance for us. Just going to pass that down. That Roger Eastman worked closely with this individual, Chris Luganbuehl is his name. And when I talked to him about Chris Luganbuehl, he said that he was a realist, has an astronomer's perspective on lighting, put in the idea in their Flagstaff ordinance for 3 lighting zone levels because of the Naval Observatory, and his life's work has been with lighting and ordinances and good lighting design. And you will see that there are other partners that they have, and all their credentials are here. It also, the Environment Committee is recommending that they're both familiar, all these men are familiar with the Flagstaff ordinance and also with the Homer Glen ordinance. So I would just like this put on as an item in the near future, since Trustee Kajanis, 3 members of his committee and 3 members of the Environment Committee are working together on paying attention to what the attorney has already said. So That's why I brought this up. So in the near future, we will have this as an agenda item and a vote.
Okay, I think what we have to do is wait for your environmental committee to meet with the CED and see what recommendations come from that committee, or from that joint meeting, and we'll move from there.
Well, that's what
That's
I...
actually, Mr. Mayor, what I was going to say. Our committee hasn't even had a chance to meet jointly together to formulate even hellos and handshakes, let alone jumping forward to reviewing a company
I wanted to
for
plant,
engineering consulting.
excuse me,
So
I
I'd like
wanted
us
to plant the seed because Roger Eastman, as had been said in our memo, would help draft an ordinance. He does not. He will not. And his opinion of Chris Luganville, one of the partners in here, is certainly different than what was said. So there must have been just some misunderstanding there.
If I may, just to clarify this, our firm did talk with Mr. Eastman. What we placed in our memo is accurate, and we'll be more than happy to discuss it further with Mr. Eastman if need be. But we found him very helpful, very easy to deal with. There is nothing in that memo that we prepared that we cannot verify. So I'm just letting you all know that. But I don't know that this is necessary at this point in time, but as we move along, we certainly...
Right, the members of both committees need to sit down and discuss it and go through it, and we'll move it like a normal process. After your committee members meet with the CED members, and you come together on some common ground and make some type of recommendations, we'll move to the next step of this.
Yes, and I believe that's what I said when I introduced this topic under old business, but I will say that I found that the message about what Mr. Eastman had said about Mr. Eugenbill, and I also wondered if a man who is working full-time for the Village of Flagstaff has time to work on an ordinance for another company, so I called him. And I got different information. In fact, his words were about Mr. Eugenbill, it doesn't sound right to him that this was said, and that he is only willing to answer questions. So he did go into detail about Mr. Luganville. And that's two different opinions, must have been a misunderstanding somewhere.
There was absolutely no misunderstanding.
Well, I got a different perspective and absolutely different words.
And Mr. Mayor, as I read the report, and when we first initially asked for a review on the attorney review, we asked it with no predetermined opinion that we are seeking. We believe the report that we received from our legal team for the village is legitimate, accurate, and in earnest.
So, okay,
Well, anyone can-
hold on, we're not gonna.
Well,
play
wait a
this
minute.
little- We're not gonna sit here and play this little cat fight, okay?
I'm not
You guys are
catfighting.
gonna
I
sit
have
down.
presented the facts, and I'm going to stick to them.
You are gonna sit down with the board, your committee members, with the committee members from the CED. If the law firm has prepared a document based upon the testimony from these individuals, you guys are gonna have to decide what recommendations you're gonna make. But that's for another day. So, is there any other old business? Okay, is there any new business? Oh yeah, the new business is, we were talking about the mayor pro temp, and I did see an email from trustee Nemec today that is pretty much, if I'm correct, saying the same thing I'm saying, is that you wouldn't have a problem with extending the date out to after the election in May. I think it makes, if I'm reading you correctly, I think it makes total sense. We're selecting a mayor pro temp, and I think it's going to be a little embarrassing if we select that person and that person isn't even a trustee 4 months from now. So I think the ordinance right here is a very clear ordinance and really only needs one word change during the month of May of each year, and that'll get us beyond the election. That'll let whoever is the future mayors, the future trustees, vote on who they want as their backup mayor. And it also protects in the ordinance that until this, what do you call it, appointment is made and confirmed by the village board, the existing mayor pro temp stays in place. So we have a mayor pro temp, he would stay in place. We could make a very simple change to our ordinance to make it May instead of December. Does anybody have an issue with that? Okay.
And George would stay on as?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
yeah. Okay, so we'll prepare a revised ordinance for a vote at the next meeting. Okay? Okay. Is there any other new business?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes,
I think one thing we may want to consider, since we're looking at amending the ordinance, is that rather than just leave it to where it floats, if it's not put on an agenda, the mayor pro tem keeps serving. I think that it may be that it's, it comes up each May and it can be reconfirmed. I have a little concern when we have ordinances that say if nothing's done, it'll just keep going on. And I think it might be a good policy for the board to just review that each year. And I certainly agree, and I think in hindsight, when we first wrote this ordinance to have the mayor pro tem elected in December, that's when we did it initially. But having it in May after the beginning of our fiscal year and any elections makes absolute sense. I just think that we should amend it so that it's not, if there are no changes, the individual serves. I think that it may need to be reviewed each year.
And if that's, Mayor, if I may.
Yes, trustee.
If that's the case, and I do agree with her, see, the one thing that, Cameron had called me and told me that it was on the agenda, was taken off, and I didn't have a problem with it because I understood with April coming up, doesn't know if I will be here or not. But the one thing that I didn't know was that it actually should have been done in December, because I know how the ordinance works, but date-wise, there's just too many to keep track of. So we had to talk with Cameron, and he had informed us that they're trying to get something set up to where we will be notified a little bit earlier, because there's too many things on the plate to remember everything. But at the same token, if we were going to do it for the mayor pro temp, the same thing should be done for the planning commission. That should be done in May, not in December, but we didn't do it in December either. So we're not following the ordinances, and we really should bring them up to us.
The plan commissioners all serve at different terms. They all have different term limits, so when a term limit comes up, I bring a recommendation to either keep that person or replace the person may not want to continue to serve on the plan commission too. But all the plan commissioners have different terms, so they don't all expire once.
No, and I do understand it, but did any expire last year?
No, I don't believe we had any up.
You did. You reappointed a couple, Lynn and I think someone else. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, you got me at a short one there.
I think maybe you have
George.
one this year. One of the, and I had mentioned, they were here earlier and mentioned to Trustee Costa and Trustee Yukich that one of the great things about the recodification process is, for the first time, the recodifiers are actually creating a master date list. So as they go through all the ordinances, they're recording ordinances where there are dates specific, where you're supposed to look at fees, where you're supposed to make appointments and stuff. And so they will create a master list, which we've never had, because there are a lot of dates in your ordinances. And we'll be able to use that and put it in our tickler files and make sure that from now on, we hit all those dates.
Right.
Good.
But I do have a question with that, because you just got done saying that he did reappoint, Mayor did reappoint someone already. We were never notified, and it is supposed to come before this board. Am I correct?
The appointment, you approved appointments for the
Yeah.
Plan Commission last year, the board did. There were
I
a
believe
couple,
Lynn was one of them.
And another one. I
Lynn
think.
said no there. She was one of them.
Yeah.
And you vote.
I can't remember who the other one was.
Well,
But
are they separate months that this is done, though? Because, see, this is where it does get real confusing.
No, I
If
think
the-
they're done on this, I think the reappointments are done in the same month for the Plan Commission. It's just that you only had, I think, 2 up this time.
It's
I
probably
think this next year you
Lynn
have
and Jay,
1.
then.
I
That should
think,
have been the terms.
if I may, I think the struggle that Trustee Yukich is having is that the mayor brings forward appointments for the Plan Commission, separate from Mayor Pro Tem, where the board elects the Mayor Pro Tem. With the Plan Commission, the mayor brings forward a recommendation with the concurrence of the board.
Yes.
So we vote to concur. We voted for one plan commissioner, but the board did not concur on a second, and that plan commissioner is currently serving without approval of the board.
He's an appointment by the mayor that stays in the position of plan commissioner. If the mayor doesn't bring forward another recommended or another suggested plan commissioner, yes.
So my question would be to the attorney, if we have plan commissioners who are expiring and there's a vacancy, and then the mayor would need to bring forward a recommendation, is that correct?
Yes.
It's his prerogative. I think I wrote a memo to all of you on this, and so rather than try to speak off the top of my head, I'll refer you to my memo, and I'll bring it back to you at the next meeting. How's that sound?
That sounds great.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? Okay, then the next portion of this meeting would be executive session. Is there a motion to go into executive session for the purposes of discussing executive session minutes and potential litigation?
So moved.
First by trustee Costa, second by trustee Sabo. Any discussion? Okay, motion carries. We're going to move to executive session. We'll be back in a bit. I don't know how quick.